appropriately.
Hey, we should teach a class to guys getting married for the first time, Bert.
So they know the real deal. What's really going on?
Exactly. I'm 3 years in now, so man.
Oh yeah. We
9 total. So I feel like I can give advice if I
got live. We are live.
I got a decade under my belt there, James. So almost here. So yes.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Yes, we are good to go, peoples.
Why he's getting his stuff together.
Oh yeah.
Gotta add you.
Welcome everyone to the Wright Conversation. I guess we start with introductions.
Yes, we do.
So I am Xkizin Wright, your certified hypnotherapist, aka your licensed marriage and family therapist.
And I'm Mr. Wright, the one you've been looking for all this entire time. That's who I am. I'm a social entrepreneur, and I change people's lives. That's what I do.
Yes. So
go ahead.
Did we already talk? We didn't talk about that. You didn't tell me we were going. Well, okay. So we hop on here every, I would say the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And we talk about a book. We talk about a book and we talk about a book because we feel we experience or we put so much investment in our education and to forward our career, but not really our relationships. So we felt, why not invest about $20, $40 a year in our relationship by reading books? So we pop on here and share what we've learned throughout the reading of each chapter. And this year, actually, we have guests that are joining us. So I would like for our guests to introduce themselves also.
Yeah. Go ahead, James and Abby.
Well, hey, everybody. Sure, I'm Alberlynne Abby Wood.
And I'm James Woods Jr. And we are the owners of Quartermain Media.
Yes, I'm a producer. He's a director and CEO. Yes, we have a company, Quartermain Media.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. Good stuff. So this week's topic is on culture and media. And I could think of a better couple to have on it because they actually do something beyond just being married for a few years now. Do you want to tell what you guys do in the world and the name of your company and different stuff?
They did.
Did they?
Yes, they did.
But I don't talk about what they created differently.
Okay. We'll go deeper then.
Dig deeper. Right. Go ahead.
All right.
You start it off like you normally do.
Well, yeah, we'll just give you the high level pitch. James actually tells the story a little bit better than I do, but are you familiar with All My Children, General Hospital, all the soaps were on ABC7?
Yes.
There are ABC. There was a wealthy family called the Quartermains, and that's actually what we named our company after. But I'll let James tell a little bit more.
Yes. Okay, so this is how the story goes. When I was born, I'm an only child. So when I was born, my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, thought that I was this big, huge, pretty baby. But I come from I probably have maybe 35 or 40 first cousins, but I was the last grandchild to be raised next door to my grandparents on our 40 acres of land. Mm-hmm. And so my grandfather had a lot of contact with me, as well as my grandmother. And he thought that I was this, once again, big, pretty
baby,
good smelling baby, as my dad said. And he nicknamed me Quartermain. And that was my nickname, like Abby said, from some soap operas that he and my grandmother used to watch throughout the weekday. And wasn't informed of this story until I turned 21 years old. And I said, well, if I ever start a company, I'm going to name it Quartermain. So cut to 9 years later, I meet Abby. I moved to California. I meet Abby and I tell her this story. And she was like, great. We're just going to put media on the end of it and we're going to run with it.
Well, at first he said, have you ever heard of it? I was like, oh yeah, I used to watch what my grandmother used to call the stories. I used to watch the stories, Falcon Crest, all that stuff. I used to watch with her. Capital. I don't know if people remember all this stuff. Anyway, and I know, right? Somebody knows that one. But I used to watch Dallas, all those things. I used to watch those with my
all of them, then some
stories, and so we knew we wanted to be visually powerful storytellers, and so it was really great for
and
the origin.
Keep a family
tied to it.
Family tied to it.
So we create videos. We're primarily focused on branded content. as it relates to social media. YouTube is our we're experts at, and really digging into reels and things on Instagram and other TikTok and all this stuff that's going on. And we also launched a magazine during quarantine called Cue the Culture. Gotta hear like my shameless plug here.
Here's the plug. Here's the plug.
54. We're gonna plug for real. Look at that. You see Bert. Woo woo.
I know that person.
He looks familiar.
Yes. And so it's our celebration actually of Black social media influencers and also Black social media conversations. We feel like, man, how are kids and people gonna know about a hashtag that has like long gone but had a huge impact on our culture and our moments. And so we're archiving all of that and also celebrating Black influencers and telling their stories too.
And Black people in general.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a celebration of Black people in general.
Yeah.
So y'all, the audience can see why I'm so excited to have Abby and James on today's topic in many ways. I think as my wife alluded earlier, why we started this journey was because we realized we spend a lot of time in our own professional education, or what about our own things that really matter the most, which is our marriage, right? And our relationship in many ways, right? So the book we're reading this month or this year is Becoming Married, Staying Married, A Guide to African-American Couples by Marcus Small. And who better else to have another African-American couple to share this journey and share the insights regarding being married, for the time they've been married as well there too. The African-American experience of being a Black couple being married in this country. But he has a very interesting points of views about this chapter this week or whatever, right? Which basically targets about us being married from the slave trade times to now to current culture and as far as what we see taking place in the media. So maybe you want to share some of your thoughts you share with me as far as your insights?
So yes, how Bert mentioned, they really talked about how media shapes our relationship, how we view it, and how not only media, but even our culture and slavery before. And as I was reading it, I was really thinking about how it has even my thoughts of initially when we got married. Because I know my dad, he was the provider, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And that was my expectation, because not only saw that with my parents, but that's what society said, or that's what I felt the relationship or marriage is supposed to be like. And then after a while and what we went through, I realized that it's not always like that. It's not always like that, where the man is a provider and the woman stays at home. And because of that, and really stepping back and really thinking about, okay, how do we want to show up in our relationship, and how do we want our marriage, and not going by the blueprint that society has. So it's really, that was an eye-opening that really helped me to realize, okay, whatever we're happy with and whatever works for us, that's what matters.
You also mentioned about the cultural ramifications of the slave trade on Black families, Black marriage, right? Because think about it from the standpoint that at one point, Massa was very often take advantage of Black women. And if the Black man was to interject or try to defend their Black woman, they were either killed, hung, or emasculated, or whatever, right? So it creates almost a generational trauma where Black women begin no longer feel that the Black man can support them in many ways, right? Now, fast forward many years, you see these different images on TV, and I want to bring in Abby and James from the standpoint, when you think about that standpoint as far as how those images sometimes are being promoted or presented again, as far as how we see marriages, relationships going forward. So any thoughts you want to share about that, two of you?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. And I mean, even just to try to unpack all of that, watching something for, a few minutes, or watching a picture, or watching something for an hour and a half, a film or something like that, it's not really going to have some huge impact. It'll literally stay as entertainment. But the way we're bombarded, like wherever you go, about this kind of like gloom and doom with regards to Black marriage and Black marriages working and relationships, even outside of being Black, sometimes it's really just quite, I think it's a bit of trauma porn that they put out here about the doom and gloom of what it's like to partner up and be in a relationship and be in a committed, healthy relationship. But going all the way back, I guess, to the slave era and the slave trade, what's sad is that what happened, but that we're 400 years from that, and it still has such a impact on our brokenness, and what we see. And it's this almost like inevitability of us being torn apart. I think that we talk about it in terms of today as divorce, but really, truly, I think that there is just I'm not sure I can be all in, because what if we are separated or torn apart, or something happens such that we are, this unit is no longer. I hope that, yeah.
You do want to answer that, James? Be quiet, brother. I know you want to kind of you want to let it out. Go ahead. I see you want to let it
out. I think I have to come from it from the perspective that my parents, December 10th, I think that's their anniversary, just celebrated 44 years of marriage.
Wow.
And for me, I have been told, I was told all of those stories from my dad about how people used to, about the, slaves and marriage, and how at some point you just couldn't keep the family together. It was always something that would, this white man was here trying to tear the family apart. But I read history where even after the slaves were freed, they would go back and search out for their families, their wives, their kids, their children. And so I look at marriage and family specifically as this is something that we have a right to. We have always had a right to it. And the bond is still there. I mean, when I look back at my family and look at my parents who have been married for 44 years, your parents have been married.
Yeah, my parents have been married for 48-ish.
48. Yeah, 48.
How old are you, AJ? Anyway, yeah.
So I look at that and when I see marriages on TV, or I see how obviously you think about the Cosbys and stuff, and that was a great example of a Black man and a Black woman, professional, coming together with a family, working together. But I never had to look outside of my family to see that example. I always woke up and both my dad was always there. There was never like, oh, Dad's gone for 2 weeks. I mean, if he was, it was for work. So I look at marriage from a totally different perspective than some of my friends and even some of my family members do. Because I woke up and saw two Black people every single day who was loving on me, was telling me I was the best, I was the cutest, you can do anything you want, you can go anywhere you want to go in life. And I waited a while before I got married. 37 for me. But I remember my conversation with God was very specific in the type of woman that I wanted. Had to be educated. I did not want children. I did not want to be with a woman with children. I wanted someone that was going to love me, and all of those qualities he gave me within Abby. So, but once again, no children, highly educated, well raised, beautiful, and I feel like I got everything that I wanted. So, that's my little spiel on it, but I can add more. But for me, I've always grew up with that image of the Cosbys at home. I mean, like I didn't have to look, like your wife, I didn't have to look outside of what that needed to look like. I saw it every day. So
you have a question, Bert? No. So do you think that that image of the media of the Cosbys, because those are of a certain age, you have the Cosbys on one side, and then we have Rock on the other side, right? And with the blue collar version, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that sometimes gives this unrealistic expectation of how marriage should operate or move forward? Because I think I can see how that could sometimes, because in the chapter it talks about how, because of what happened through how the Black male persona was emasculated, right? Almost disempowered. That there's a story in the chapter about how this brother had just lost his job. And because how Black men are often ostracized or, dehumanized, that he felt emasculated as a man because he couldn't provide anymore. Because now his wife felt stressed out because she would say, "Hey, I don't want to take care of another man." But obviously things beyond the control, whatever, right? So I say that I shared this to kind of lay the foundation to ask some questions. Do you think sometimes the media gives this unrealistic expectation, the hashtag realistic, relationship goals, right? Do you think, from your standpoint, that could be a false narrative when it comes to media?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, they're telling most of those stories. And actually, as I was sitting here, I was totally thinking of Rock because of the blue collar aspect. I come from a working class family. So a lot of people, and James does too. So you kind of say, oh, well, the Cosbys, their parents had all, they had the family, the father and the mother, they had so much money and everything. But when I think about Rock, they had all these different stories going on around them. But when they came together and they looked into each other's eyes, there was just so much flirtation and love and affection for each other. And to be honest with you, that's what marriage is, right? However you were raised or whatever, it's those moments between you and you two that make the difference. But I do think that people are a lot of women who grew up and they watched their fathers. And this is my philosophy. James knows I kind of like tell a lot of my girlfriends this stuff when they come to me asking questions, but I think that the media portrayal, it does impact you, because if you are a female, I'm putting myself in the position, if you're a female and however you saw your father behave towards your mother, that's kind of what you're gravitating towards, regardless of if you believe it or not. That's really kind of that you're gravitating towards. I think for men, it's similar if they love their mother, right? So my prayer, James talked about his prayer for me. My prayer for my guy was, I wanted him to know and to love both his parents. I think that there's something to that. I think that translates into how he treats me. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times when men are struggling with their relationship, if they would really dig deep on their relationship with their mother, it kind of would signal a lot of stuff to clean up so that they could get to the woman that they're really wanting. Because sometimes they're like, wow, some guy will be looking at this and they'll say, no way, this woman I'm with is nothing like my mother. And it's like, yeah, because you got a problem with your mom. It's like all, and the same for women. I mean, again, women chase after very similar, personality traits that their fathers have. So these are the first people of the opposite sex that you love and realize and recognize what love was. I think it may also relate to same-sex scenarios too. It's just about those who's in your home, who was in your home, and then also that picture that they kept pushing on television, how that related to your life at home. It all it just kind of all makes up for what you end up gravitating towards and are attracted to.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Questions?
Yeah, I can see that too when it comes to media, especially like now social media, when they talk about like highlight reels, when couples put the highlight reels of their relationship. Now, I have seen now more reels that are more realistic that some couples are putting out there, but that's really important to remember that people put out their mask and their best foot forward for social media purposes, because sometimes people don't really want to hear the bad things and the realistic parts of marriage. So it's really, I've learned really important to realize that and not always look at those perceptions and be like, okay, that's what it is, when not all the time.
Mm-hmm. Right. And someone posted a picture or a quick video that's like 60 seconds or whatever. This is 24/7. This 24/7, and you don't get a feel of like what 24/7 is. I remember the wife from Kindred, the singing group, she was like, I know how to wear the seatbelt for this ride.
Right.
That's not anybody else. But what I gathered when she was talking about that was people kind of see a glimpse. They see a picture. They see, they see you guys together on something. Like people probably watching this right now. I'm like, oh, relationship goals, without knowing that it's like, we've had to do this
7 days a week, 365 days.
There are times you're like, oh my God. You're like, I love you to death. Oh my
God. But also, like our pastor told us this too prior to us getting married. You're like, oh, I'm getting married. And he's like, okay, so both of your parents are still alive. And we're like, yeah. he literally circled family and was like, yeah, this is going to be your issue. Yeah. And we're like, what's he talking about, right? And so sometimes it's not between us that's the issue. It's these outside forces that become issues, and the media that they can't even portray that. There's stuff that they couldn't put that on TV. Bless you, Tyler, but they can some stuff you can't even put on TV.
Yeah, it's it is
it would make. I'll tell you that.
You say what again? Say again, James.
I said it would make for good ratings, but you don't want to put that out there all the time. So,
but that's an interesting point, though. I mean, you don't want to share all your business on the streets, whatever, right? In on social media, but I do think there's a part you should be okay to share, right? Of that, I'm grateful that Abby, I advertised my book in the, in your magazine, but I do share about. There's a part of our journey that was pretty nasty. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as that financial struggle in many ways, right? And I think we need to be okay to say, hey, it's not always Valentine's Day every day. It's not always roses and glory every single day. There are times where you're like, this ish really hit the fan. And we're trying to figure out how do we navigate as a couple, right? And I think that's where I really feel like we grew stronger because of those struggles. I'm sure you guys probably feel the same way yourself, but what I see is sometimes that people, I think they marry an ideal versus marrying the reality check.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely. And then when the idea doesn't come to fruition, they're like, oh, it's time to go.
Yeah. I think also when I think of people who struggle in that moment where they're like, well, this is not what I signed up for. I think it's almost like they didn't ask the right questions or they didn't take the time when dating. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So our thing before we, when we were dating, I told her, hey, I got to live with you before we get married. And she was like, well, my parents have this thing about, well, if you bring your girlfriend to come visit, you can't sleep in the same bed because you're not married, right? And I was like, well, okay, that's fine. Your house, your rules. Right. And, she kind of mentioned to me like, well, my mom might not think us living together is a good thing. And I said, hey, look, I'm an only child. I am used to things being my way. I am not used to people being in my space. But if we're going to do this forever, I need at least a year to know your habits. I need to know what it looks like. What if I walk in the bathroom, is there's a wig hanging on the mirror at 2 o'clock in the morning, not to be scared. I need to know that you like to meditate early in the morning so I can stay out your way. I need to know, if I'm having a drink at night, can I have 2? I mean, it's just
no, but he's right.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that you have to live. Yeah. You should.
Yes.
I'm not gonna say
I would recommend that too. I absolutely recommend that too. Which is different than what our parents probably did, and it's very different from the times. Yeah. But when you're looking at forever, a year of really learning someone's habits, and it's good because again, he's the only child, but I'm one of 4. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm second. I'm the only girl, so sharing, easy peasy. That's what we do. Like that is like second nature. Can't say the same for someone who's the only child. Can't say the same. Love them. Love you, but it's the same. You know what I'm saying? And like even their thought process is different. Of we, it's it's still kind of.
It is we now.
It's we now.
It's we now.
It's we now.
But it took 9 years to get to that point where.
Right.
Well, 6 years. We got married 3. So
okay, but yes, true. But it took a minute for that. But so going back to what I was saying about asking the right questions, I remember while we were dating telling James that I will quit a job. He was like, I was like, yeah, I am someone, I believe money comes, money goes, right? But if I'm in a place and I don't want to go and I wake up every day and I'm like, I'm crying in the parking lot or I'm crying in my office, it comes over me like a flood. And it's like, just, you'll find something else.
Yeah.
Not having a way of what'll happen after I go. Like I literally leap without any, like, I'm just like, yeah, I'm a child of the Most High God. He'll figure it out.
Right. And I'm like, don't quit that good government check. I mean,
he's a completely different scenario when it comes to that. So we talk, but I think that like you're talking about financial stuff, it's just, it's going to come and go. And then if you are an entrepreneur couple like us, you're going to have deep, deep valleys and high peaks and deep, deep valleys again and high. And
that bond needs to be absolutely tight, because if it's not, it will easily break apart.
So let me, that leads to a very great question, James, because I think sometimes, I mentioned earlier about people married, sometimes married an idea versus the reality check, right? For some of our listeners out there that may be dating or still currently single, or maybe they're married, right? If you were to go back and share with some of those people some tips on how to make sure they're marrying the reality check and not the ideal, what would you share with some people watching right now? Either James or Abby, either one.
I would say first off, you most definitely need your own space. Even in your own house, get your own space. And I'm not saying like in a whole nother house, but like a like a room that you can go to that is yours. I realize that even though I am married to Abby and we're a couple, I am still an individual. I still am an only child who likes to hang out by himself sometimes. Maybe that's not, at a casino somewhere, but maybe it's in the car listening to music. Maybe we have been working for the last 4 hours on a project and I need to get away. Or either she needs to get away sometimes. And, but we always come back. Second thing I would say is make sure that the person that you think you're in love with loves you. Because it's oftentimes you'll find a couple where one is like way more in love with the other person than the other. And I just feel like I love Abby just as much as she loves me, and she loves me just as much as I love her. So we were, like I said, we were married. We were together for 6 years before we got married. She was my friend. I mean, like we were friends. Yeah. We knew what made each other laugh and all that kind of stuff. But I liked her. I liked her as a human being. I was like, this is a dope ass chick. Like, what? I mean, and how lucky am I for some country ass dude out of Mississippi to land on, I mean, with all of the qualities and things that I asked for. So, that was, for me, that was like, okay, I like her as a person.
Go get your room. Y'all go get your room.
You're already in one.
But the other thing I would say is, what I would add to that, thank you, by the way, my love. That was sweet. For people that are dating, two things I would say. One is I absolutely prayed for him before I met him. I prayed that God would not only prepare him, but prepare me, right? Because you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to prepare him to prepare me. I mean, it's like, please, because I know I come with so much, so I want to be prepared for whatever that is. So one of the things I remember doing, because I'm all about rituals sometimes, is just, I was like, I got to make my bed every day. I got to purge my closet before I meet this guy, because I got to make room for him. I also have to make a mindset for this relationship. So those are kind of some things I recommend. But the second thing is, I believe that James and I work, people are like, how do you guys do it? Whatever. I love me so much. I mean, you come and during this quarantine time, it has gotten really good of how much I love me. He loves himself so much. James is extremely confident in self, and even how he approached me, he's just very in love with him. And so because of his self-love, when we get together, it's just this, this is a joy-filled man, right? So I love that whole idea of joy and love and excitement and everything. So it makes our bond, I think, even better. But with him saying, love the other person, but it's also, I love myself so much. There's only how I'm going to treat him is only going to be at a certain level, just because of how much he loves him and then how much I love him loving him.
Right.
So I hope that's not too much gushing.
It's sickening.
I agree on both of what you guys said. Like, we have, like, when we got married, we have our own bathrooms, and I think that's a godsend. So have your own bathrooms. That's the
Bert, you have your own bathroom?
We have our own bathroom.
Yeah, we're in a two-bed
Talk about relationship goals.
Yeah.
So that space. So I'm all for having your own space because I feel like having your own bathrooms is amazing. And then also,
she makes it very clear that it's her bathroom. Let me just share that part. So yeah.
and I would also my tip is do not expect to change the person.
No.
And really just know that, because I even had that expectation and that thought process, like, oh, when we get married, he's gonna start doing this. No, if he didn't start doing it, or he's not doing it as you're dating, don't expect that to happen when you get married. So that's one thing that I really had to really take in and be like, okay, if this person never changes, would I be fine with that?
Yeah.
And
I think you need to say that again, because I think that's a very powerful piece of advice. We recognize that, right? Assume that the person you're marrying is currently the best version of who they are, and they will never change.
Yep. And if you're okay with that, okay, say I do. But if you're not, and you're hoping, oh, if I do this, or I'll influence him to change, or I'll influence her to change, I wouldn't hold my breath on that one.
Right. Now, some people can, especially those that are maybe dating now or in relationships where they're like, oh, I think this is the one. I do think it's okay to ask people their goals, like ask them their biggest dreams, because if they really like have faith and believe that that's where they're going to go, then that's where that potential thing kind of runs into, I think, when people talk to each other. But you're going to grow, you're going to change. And like you said, it's almost like, well, how are they now? I'm on my quest to become my best self, right? But he's got to like love me for right now. I mean, I need this guy to be into me for right now, but so do I, right? Like I need to love me right now. Yes. And work towards whatever that new thing is. But yeah, you can't. I mean, if you think you're gonna change somebody, nah. Like he's only child, he's gonna be only child. I'm one of four. I mean, he has introduced me to things, and I've kind of thought differently and things like that. And same for me. Yeah. But at the core, I'm still Abby from the block.
Right. Yeah. You want to share anything at the end of that, James? Or
no, fine.
She's like, I'm good. And so, I mean, I want to kind of wrap things up here and respect you guys' time. We kind of have about 30 minutes and some change here. So, going back. Yeah, we're about so fast. It does. It gets really good. Like we go everywhere. You know what I'm saying? We always have a topic, and the guests determine where we go. So I want to kind of you guys kind of any final thoughts you want to share about either your topic we had today, culture and media, or just any final thoughts you want to share about just marriage, relationships in general to our audience.
I would just say for young men who are thinking about getting into a relationship, or you kind of just maybe you come from a broken home, you don't know where to go. There's always that one uncle and auntie that you have that has been married for 30 years. They might hate each other 2 days out of the week, but they have been married for 30, 35, 40 years. If you ever need conversations, always look to the elders in your family. I mean, and they're going to tell you the same thing that, somebody who's been married for 3 years is going to tell you is it is not going to be roses and, Cupid sitting on the arm every day. Like sometimes you're going to wake up and you're going to have very, very difficult conversations that you need to have. The goal is to be able to have those conversations together. Mm-hmm. And I was telling Abby, my father recently had, 2 years ago, he had a heart attack. So we moved back so that we can help take care of him. That was a decision that I had to make with my wife. Well, actually, my wife was the one who was like, I think we need to move back to Mississippi. And I was like, okay.
Actually, it wasn't at first, but he was like, oh, but I was like, look, we buy coastal, it'll be cheaper. We can do these things. I mean, COVID's thrown a wrench into things, my big ideas and stuff, but
got me sucked in. We ended up moving back. I had to take my parents to a hospital appointment, a doctor's appointment. And I remember pulling up and all of these women were helping their husbands get out the car and get into the wheelchair, and then vice versa, the husband were helping some of the women. And I thought, that's the goal. That's the goal right there. That is the goal, is that when you get 75 or 80 years old and you have been together for 30 or 40 years, you have somebody to help your ass get out the car and get you and roll your ass to the doctor. And that's the goal. I mean, that's the goal right there. And I remember calling Abby and I was like, you know what? I'm so glad I'm married to you. I'm so glad. I was like, because, you know, I don't want to be 75 years old having to roll myself into the doctor's appointment by myself. He was like, oh, I get it. So I say all that in to say, for the young married couples, if you need answers, you need questions, turn to the people within your own family. If you don't know them, turn to your school teachers. You know somebody's been married for more than 2 years. Talk to them. They may be able to help you out. So that's how I'm gonna end my comment.
Okay. Well, I think I'll try to wrap it up with the topic too. So I would just encourage people, let media, TV, film, pictures, magazines, social media, let that be entertainment. Let enjoy that for the entertainment that it is. I mean, because I remember watching Malcolm and Marie, which was on Netflix. And I remember like midway through, I don't even think it was midway through. It was a beautiful movie. I want to come from that place and like, okay, because I'm looking at it from an entertainment perspective. Done in black and white, it's beautiful. Oh, they look so wonderful. Oh, that young black couple, woo, 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 right? But if you now try to flip that into like a relationship, right? I'm reminded of the moment in Gladiator where he just like sliced everybody and he turned and says, "Are you not entertained?" Like, I mean, because that's how it was. It was like, oh, you need to be, this is like entertainment, because this is not a healthy relationship by any means necessary. This is not how people should talk to each other in a relationship. James and I wouldn't even think, I don't even think about what some of the things that those people said to each other, right? So again, it comes down to when it comes to TV, the Cosbys, you know, all these wonderful things, like I love on these things, right? And even the things that are out today, like
Dwayne and Whitley.
Yeah, like, you know, A Different World. Like I love that stuff. And even like the newer stuff that's out, like 20s on BET, it is so good stuff, right? Such good stuff. But it's Blackish. Also Blackish, like Brownish, all that stuff. Like really cool. And then Insecure. Like, I love it. I'm gonna miss that show so much, right? But I look at all that and I say, wow, that was a great 30 minutes. I gotta go live the rest of my life. I gotta go live the rest of my life. And Housewives, James gets on me all the time. He's like, how can you watch this stuff? I'm like, I am watching this to see what's the latest lipstick I need to wear. You know, is there some new lashes? And
for you, James.
But James, like,
I think it's trash TV.
but I'm entertaining. I find it just absolutely entertaining. But I'm not like, oh, I'm trying to be.
We right here. Is it just?
But she's a therapist, so she watches it because she wants to see how she's fascinated by how their brain works. She's like, why? Because, you know, you guys don't know, if you don't know, my wife's a licensed therapist. So her therapy brain watches it from that standpoint. Plus, she finds it entertaining.
Yeah, that's all it is. I mean, the Housewives right now need to give Phaedra back, and maybe Sheree, kind of boring, but even still, right? You know what I'm talking about. Nene, I mean, you need her. I don't know what they're doing, but either way, I just think that, and when you're watching TV, you're watching stuff, or you see pictures, you see even if the next, I mean, we get so many likes when I post a little stupid ass picture about me and James, posted up. But at the end of the day, that's a quick moment on your feed. This is 24/7.
You still have to like each other after the picture is taken.
True.
Yes.
Very much so.
Like yourself too.
And like it.
That's so true.
Yes.
Final thoughts, baby?
Yeah, so just to piggyback on what Abby was saying, yes, leave it as entertainment. And also with social media, leave it purely as entertainment. And also when you look at your friends' relationships, when they come out, some of them, you actually might see the true relationship. Others, you might just see highlight reels. So really define what you want your relationship to look like, what you do like, what you don't like, and find somebody, and just find somebody that's willing to adjust, and you guys both adjust to those. And I love the self-love, because I would not be in this relationship if I didn't love myself first. And I know Bert would have never found me if I didn't love myself first. So that's really important too, because how can we show or know what we want from somebody else or need somebody else if we don't even love ourselves first?
True.
Oh my God! I'm telling you, we should go on tour, the four of us,
Yes.
right now. We should all
Yeah,
go
we
on
should.
tour,
Yeah.
talking to 21-year-old men and women, Black men.
So I got two final questions. The second to the last one is, where can people find you guys, stay in touch with you guys, text you guys? I'm lucky that I know y'all already as friends, but those who don't know what you guys already do, how can they follow y'all, connect with y'all? What are your platforms?
She
Sure.
handles all the social media.
It's so funny. We are a tribe called Quartermain on Instagram and Facebook. We are Q the Culture on Twitter. And we have our website, quartermainmedia.com. Quartermainmedia.com. And you can email us hello@quartermainmedia.com. Website refresh in effect. Thank you, Brandon. Awesome. We'll be up next week.
Perfect. So here's my favorite final question we ask all our guests. If you can go back in time and tell your self and your future spouse one tip about being married, what would you say? So if you go back in time, tell yourself back in time, what one tip you give yourself about being married, and one tip you give your spouse about being married to you. You can either one go first.
You have energy.
Say that again.
I would tell her I have plenty of energy.
Okay. What would you tell yourself about being married?
I have plenty of energy.
All right.
I guess I would tell myself, God's not finished yet.
Okay.
And to just enjoy this journey, but God's not finished yet. And then to James, I would say, I thought when we were dating that you were my friend, but you are my best friend. You are truly my best friend. So, and I will. That is gonna evolve. I'm enjoying this. I love being married. I didn't know I was gonna love it this much. I love it.
Yes. I'm like, I have friends who are still single. I'm like, I don't know how you're doing in this COVID streets. I'm glad I'm married. I get to come home.
And we actually like each other.
And we like each other too. So yes.
Yeah.
I get to come to my best friend and hang out and have a good time. And I laugh at her corny jokes. She laughs at my corny jokes. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And stuff. Yeah. You know, she lays on my lap, watch TV, and she's out in 2 minutes. Out, gone. Like it don't like.
They don't. That's what they don't tell you. They don't tell you how much you sleep. You do. I mean, all that. The. I think that's the other thing about media. The pumping.
Bump grind being on whatever.
Pump and grind 24/7 and everything. It's like everybody you laid up.
I'm proud of that.
We got jobs and careers.
Where's the road? Where's his car? Where's his house shoes?
Yeah.
That's how bad it is. Like I know we gotta go. But I love. She already knows. So we'll have sometimes on Friday nights we watch food. We have a movie and watch a movie on Friday nights, right? And she'll get a blanket and she'll be like this. I'll say, you ain't gonna watch the movie. She's like, no, I am. I'm like, she'll be like this. 3, 2, 1. Out, gone.
Yeah.
Like, halfway through the movie, I'm like, did you see what happened? She's like, yeah, I saw every little bit.
Don't have any idea what just happened.
No idea. No idea.
That's me if I'm drinking.
No idea.
I'm
no
not.
Idea. I was like, but that's what marriage is about. It's loving the quirks of your spouse, right? Like I love that, right? I joke about it. I make fun about it sometimes, but I love that. Like I know, for me, it lets me know that she feels so safe in my arms and who I am that she'll fall asleep at will, right? I'm like, she'll just like, I'm out. Okay, I'm good. Yeah, I'm out. And I'm like, baby, I wake up. She's like, okay. She's like, all right, yeah. So that's married life, right? But I think it's so important because if you marry the right one, then you have those wonderful moments. If you don't marry the right one, it is what it is, right? And I think our hope through these journeys of these having like these interviews and what we're doing for the past 8 years is that we can hopefully share some of the the good and even some of the bad stuff of being married, right? And the power of being okay to choose the right one, right? So I know, but yeah. So
and that's the right right one for you. It may not necessarily be the right person that your mom wants you to marry or your dad wants you to marry or all your friends want you to marry. It has to be the right person for you. Like your wife said, if you can, you know, you can come back down to it and you still like me at the end of the day, that's what counts.
Right, right. I always say, you know, we I know it's cliche, but you definitely gotta love their funky draws. You know what I'm saying? That type of love, right? Like you need to love the part of them that you ain't gonna put on Front Street, but you're like, I still will rock with you. You know what I'm saying? And then that ain't the relationship goals, social media, family part, right? You know what I'm saying? But it is the part where you're like, yeah, I still rock with you, you know. So that part, right? So with that, folks, James and Abby, hang on briefly. I'm gonna cut us off here off of Facebook Live, but thank you so much for being our guest today.
Yes.
Thank you, our audience. Please share this video, comment below. This was an awesome interview, guys. And any final comments, babe?
Nope. See you
See you in a couple weeks.
Yes.
All right.
Bye.